Hare Krishna, a very warm welcome to all the devotees to our program Srimad Bhagavatam study. In this program, we are doing a detailed study of Srimad Bhagavatam, verse by verse, chapter by chapter, canto by canto. Now our journey has reached to the third chapter of the second canto, and today's class we are going to discuss verses 11 to 25. Which is 25 is the last verse of the third chapter. So we will complete the third chapter. The title of this chapter is Pure Devotional Service, the Change of Heart. Overall, this is our 57th class. For those devotees who are watching us on YouTube, can see the previous classes on our channel Gita Online Study. There's also a playlist available where the all previous lectures on Srimad Bhagavatam study are available. We will move to the Mangala Sharan. So Mangala Charan was by Manish Prabhu, but I don't see Manish Prabhu joining us.
Anupama Kulkarni Thari Prabhu.
Okay, Anupama Mataji might not join us for some time. She mentioned.
Manish Prabhu ji ka next class mein.
Okay, so we will request Manish ji in the next class, but anyone would like to do it, specifically those who have not done it before. Maybe Hani Mataji, would you like to try?
I can do it.
Oh, Shivan Prabhu want to do it? Okay. Please, Shivan ji.
Okay. Om Ajnanatirandasya Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandehum Shri Guru Shri Yutpada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaja Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Swadvaitam Swadibhutam Prag Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Pada Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vaishnavan Vidam Cha He Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrashabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kalpati Rubhescha Cha Karpa Sindhu Chevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama Om Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Swadat Radhe Gauri Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Very melodious, Prabhuji. Very nice. Very sweet. Please continue.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devyam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Uddhariyet. Nasti Paryeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shaloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Nama.
Excellent. Very nice. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay. So now we move to the next part of the class, which is the recap of the previous class, class number 56. So in class number 56, we have completed our second chapter. So from verse number 33 till 37, we covered that point, that portion of the third chapter, and then second chapter. And then we moved to the third chapter and covered up till 11 verses. So for that, I would like to invite Vasudevan Prabhu to take us along the summary of the previous class. Prabhuji, over to you.
Dandavat Pranam to our Guruji Prabhu Keshadas. Dandavat
Dandavat
Pranam
Pranam.
to all Satsangis, Matajis and Prabhujis. Thank you for this opportunity. Now, this is a very special recap for me. So, for the last 8 to 9 weeks, I have not been attending Bhagavatam class regularly because of my certain family issues. And this particular class 56, by the grace of Krishna, I was able to attend most of the class. And I was so exhilarated by this class that I immediately had requested Prabhuji that not to nominate me for recap. But after this class, I sent a message to him saying that I want to do the recap. Please give me this opportunity. And Prabhuji immediately in his usual readily agreed and granted my request. Thank you, Prabhuji, for this. And this to me is the grace of Lord through our Guruji. That is the only explanation I have for that. So coming to the recap now, in this class we covered Canto 2, Chapter 2, Slokas 33 to 37 and Chapter 3, Slokas 1 to 11. So this, in this Sloka number 33, I'll just use the link. The link is, this is a link to subject matter of chapter 3. So till now, Sukdev Goswami has been talking about Ashtanga Yoga, and now he is giving his opinion on the best process. So in Shloka 33, what Sukdev Goswami is saying is, for those wandering in the material universe, there is no auspicious means of deliverance than what is aimed at in the direct devotional service of Lord Krishna. And the purport of this is, Prabhupada's purport is very interesting. And we have 4 brilliant references from Bhagavad Gita, all of which is self-explanatory. For example, chapter 12, Sloka 5. In chapter 12, Sloka 1, Arjuna asks Krishna the question that which is a better process? Is devotional service a better process or contemplating on the absolute Brahman is a better process? And this is answered in Sloka 5 where Krishna says, for those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To take progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. And since all of us are embodied soul, it is a direct thing. The devotional service is the recommended term. And similarly, in Sloka chapter 7, so Sloka number 19, it's a very Sloka that we all, I think, remember. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavatman prapadyate vasudeva sarvami samatma durlabha. After many, many births, a jnani surrenders into me. And even out of that, knowing me to the cause of all causes and all that is, such a great soul is very rare. All these messages compressed in this Sloka 43. Similarly, in 647, when he is talking about different yogas, and finally, what Lord Krishna says is, of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abide in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. Now, what better? The Lord himself has given his opinion that this is the highest service. Same thing Sukdev Goswami is telling us in these 5 slokas. And of course, we all know the Charma Sloka 1866 of Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam saranam bhaja aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshashmi. After delivering all these Gita, Lord is telling Arjuna that you forget everything I have said, just surrender unto me and I will relieve you of all your sins and take you to my abode. So that is the simple message of Lord, and this is what Sukdev Goswami is repeating here. Then moving on to Shloka number 34, the great personality of Brahma with great attention and concentration of the mind studied the Veda 3 times, and after scrutinizingly examining them, ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is the highest perfection of religion. Now, this Sukadeva Goswami has made this statement, and we have reference from Gita. Now he is quoting another authority, which is the Brahma. And what better authority than Brahma, who is the first living being to be created and who learned the Vedas himself directly from the Lord. And what he is saying, that he himself has scrutinized this 3 times and scrutinizing, and he has come to this opinion that service to Lord Sri Krishna is the highest perfection of religion. And the same thing Lord has said in chapter 15, Shloka 15, where he says, Vedaishcha sarvair ahameva vedyo vedantakrit vedavid eva chaham. That is, by all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta and I am the knower of Vedas. So, without any ambiguity, it is very made very clear to all us ignorant souls that service to the Lord is the only way forward for us. Moving on to Shloka number 35. Now, this Shloka says, the personality of God, Lord Sri Krishna, is in every living being, along with the individual soul. And this fact is perceived and hypothesized in our acts of seeing and taking help from the intelligence. Now, one objection could be that how can we do service in a loving way to a Lord that we cannot see, that we don't understand? How can we do it, etc.? Now, by very simple reasoning, we can understand that we are not this body and we are not this, we are the spirit soul. And this Prabhuji has explained very in detail in class, and we know that also. Spirit soul is the basis of the Gita also. And further, we also know that everything around us is very well organized. The sun rises and sets as per a schedule. The moon rises and sets as per schedule. The monsoons have a schedule. The rain comes in the rainy. The seasons have a schedule. Everything. Now, all this cannot be accident. It definitely means there is a controller who is controlling everything and organizing it for us. So just by a little bit of intelligence and observation, we know the presence of the Lord or presence of this thing. Now, how to understand him? By doing devotional service, and by Lord's mercy, he reveals himself progressively. And both Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, we understand that devotional service with Lord's grace is the only way to know the Lord. And see, obviously, once you realize that there is a controller, then to understand the controller, you have to go to the different literatures like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, or other Bhakti literature, etc. And we will see more about it in the further shlokas. Now, we're moving on to shloka number 36. So here, Sukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit Raja, O king, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. Now, this is one of the most powerful shlokas of Bhagavatam, which I have heard many preachers refer to. And there are 5 very important words in this. Stotabhya, Kirtitabhya, Smartabhya, Sarvatra Sarvada. Means we have to hear about the Lord, we have to sing the glories of the Lord, and we have to remember. Smartabhya means not only remember, it is to recollect and it is to reflect on that. See, many things when we read once, we think we don't understand, particularly spiritual literature, unless we sort of go on to it in deeper, that is when the full purport is revealed to us. So that is what is Smartabhya is important. And when to do Sarvatra Sarvada, everywhere, always. Now, this is the super mantra This is what is known as Sanatana Dharma or Bhagavata Dharma. And of course, Prabhuji clarified that Kirtan also includes chanting, singing the glories of the Lord, studying Bhakti literature, and discussing devotional service, and sharing stories of the Lord, etc. And it need not even be a formal. I would like to share one of my experiences, which was a great this thing. Once, one of my wife's couple of cousins came to visit us, and that day we just happened to discuss about our respective spiritual practices. I said, this is what I do, this is what, and we were talking only about this subject for about 1 hour. At the end of 1 hour, all three of us felt so exhilarated. We said, there's no better satsangs than what we have undergone in the last 1 hour. It came instinctively out of all three of us. So this always talking about the Lord, talking about devotional service is nectarian sweet, and that is the sort of goal that we all need to strive for. Moving on to sloka number 37, those who drink through oral reception, fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotees, purify the polluted aim of life known as material enjoyment, and thus go back to head to his lotus feet. Now, in this sloka, see, what is the main reason for unhappiness? We discussed in detail. The main reason for unhappiness is we are craving after material resources for sense gratification. And we have some material resources, we want more, and all that for our sense gratification. And this is where Prabhuji quoted Mahatma Gandhi's statement saying, there's enough in this nature for everyone's needs, but there's not enough for anyone's, even one person's greed, anyone's greed. So the moral is that for us to have simple living and high thinking. And we have often heard about simple living, high thinking. And not only we have heard that, we also have many examples for that. And I would like to share a couple of examples. We have the great Saint Tyagaraja, the musician, Saint Tyagaraja. Now, for example, he refused all his offers to sing at the king's court or to sing in praise of king for material. And he would not even acquire wealth. Every day he would eat only food. He will go in the morning singing glories of the Lord, beg for food, and whatever he got in food, he will eat that only, and nothing more. And he was such a big composer, and this thing. Practical life, who have lived a full life in these, clearly demonstrating us what high thinking and simple living is. Even Swami Deshikan of in our Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, and many of his references, Prabhuji has also referred in our classes, etc. He also is the same way. He would go every day and beg. And there's one incident where he did not find anything suitable to, and that day he did not eat also. So they all followed that high thinking and simple living. Now that concludes chapter 2. Now these 5 slokas, I was really overwhelmed with 5 slokas, and the ignorant soul that I am, one thought occurred to me by the grace, mercy of the Lord. The thought was that the above 5 slokas are like Panchasloki Bhagavatam, akin to Chatusloki Gita, containing the whole essence of Bhagavatam. And it is my humble, that is the way I received and perceived this, as the essence of Bhagavatam being compressed in these 5 slokas. And as if to prove this point, in sloka number 1, Sukadeva Goswami tells Maharaj Parikshit, as you inquired from me as to the duty of the intelligent man who is on the threshold of death, so I have answered you. So basically, whatever really substance to be known is already there on the table. Now, there's some interesting purport of this sloka. So the studying scriptures. Now, we all think that we are studying the Bhagavad Gita, we are studying this thing, we know everything, etc. The Prabhupada very specifically, studying scriptures will help a little only, unless we are in touch with a realized spiritual master who will guide us. Proper understanding and spiritual progress is very difficult. Even the scriptures, studying the scriptures, like I was saying a little while, every time Bhagavad Gita we have studied, but after we have studied, when every time we go, we dive into it, there are more and more meanings, more and more dimensions revealing to us. So all these require contemplation. And contemplation, the Lord gradually, progressively reveals more and more of himself. Now, chapter 3, slokas 2 to 9, Sukadeva Goswami has already described the process followed by more intelligent people. Now he is talking about what less intelligent people do. In slokas 2 to 9, Sukadeva Goswami is detailing about the specific demigods to be worshipped for specific material benefits. And we see, so all this, we are not going into, I'm not going into the details of this, which demigod to praise for this thing. This is basically corresponding to the Karma Kanda or the Purva part of the Vedas, where all these benefits are described. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, again, going back to chapters 11, slokas 20 and 29, Lord Krishna has summarized in these two slokas beautifully those both the intelligent and unintelligent people. So in sloka number 20, chapter 7, he says, those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. And after describing about what happens to them, he concludes in sloka number 29. It's a very interesting conclusion. In sloka number 29, he says, intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. So the verdict is very clear. Lord has himself declared that all these material benefits will only, you'll continue in the samsara sagara with repeated births and deaths. Only by devotional service can you get out of this. And Prabhupada in his purport has said that persons conscious of material problems are rare. Most of the people are very happy fighting every day with material. They don't even realize that the material life is what is giving us problems. They are all caught in the mundane fight of the material world without realizing. There are very few people who realize and try to understand. And even among those, the very few who are conscious of Bhagavatam, they are very, very rare. And King Parikshit is a wonderful example. So when King Parikshit heard about the curse pronounced on him that he would die in 7 days, immediately he gave up all his material assets, material possessions, kingdom, everything. He says, this, I've had enough of this material wealth. And then he goes to Ganges back and he surrenders to the lotus feet of Lord by hearing messages of Lord from the perfect spiritual master of Sukadeva Goswami. Now, that is why Sukadeva Goswami addresses King Parikshit as a Manasi. Manasi means somebody with a developed mind. So this is a very good example for us. Now moving on to sloka number 10. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desire or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. Now, Prabhupada has given very wonderful purport on this. First thing is a person with a broader intelligence. he understands that the material benefit granted by demigods also sanctioned by Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord clearly declares that whatever material benefits people are getting through demigods are only by my sanction. I am only granting it through the demigod. So the broad-minded people understand that the Lord is the ultimate authority, and consequently they worship him only, whether it is for material needs or otherwise extra, they worship him. Then all of us have a latent desire, because our spirit soul is part of the Lord, we have a latent desire to serve. In less intelligent persons, this desire gets expressed as service to society, service to community, service to country, etc. Whereas intelligent persons resort to devotional service for the satisfaction of Lord. Now, the important thing is when you are doing devotional service, it has to be for the satisfaction of Lord. It is not for our satisfaction or somebody else's satisfaction. And we saw two prime examples of that. Arjuna. Arjuna, when at the beginning of the Kurukshetra war, or before the Kurukshetra war, had the same material contamination, and he was reluctant to kill his uncles, his teachers, and his grandsires, and his relatives, etc. But once he understood the will of the Lord, then, and through the preaching of Bhagavad Gita, then he desired to serve the Lord. He desired to fight for satisfying the Lord. And that's a prime example of a conversion happening. Because even at the end of Gita, Lord Krishna never instructs him to fight. He says, now I leave it to you to decide. I have given you all the intelligence. Now you decide what you want to do. So it was Arjuna's decision to serve Krishna and fight. And of course, we all know about the gopis of Raj movie, who are the ultimate examples, who did everything for the satisfaction of Lord, not expecting anything in return. Now, coming back to the last sloka of class 56, sloka number 11. So, all the different kinds of worshippers of multi-demigods can attain the highest perfectional benediction, which is spontaneous attraction, unflinchingly fixed upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by the association of the pure devotees of the Lord. Now, here, this statement is as if into a question whether will a demigod worshipper naturally gravitate to Tivra Bhakti? The answer is no. Unless he comes in contact with a pure devotee of the God, it will not happen. Even though demigods are much more powerful than us, since they are engaged in direct service of the Lord. However, unless demigod worshippers come in contact with transcendentalists like the pure devotee, they will not develop attraction for the Supreme Personality. And we have several examples in Bhagavatam for this. One example that immediately came to my mind was Ratnakar Daku, who by associating with Narada, ultimately became following his advice, he became Valmiki Rishi. Thank you once again, Prabhuji, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you all for a patient hearing. I took a little longer. My apologies for that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vasudevan Prabhu. That was very nectarian. Specifically hearing from you about your personal experience where you extempore very naturally engaged into Hari Katha with your friends and relatives and felt very nourished after 1 hour. So that is certainly a proof of the very potent process of bhakti. And also the example that you gave about the Ratnakar Daku in the end was also very nice. In fact, Ratnakar Daku came in contact with Narad Muni and became a pure devotee. But Narad Muni also in his previous life was the son of maid servant, but came into the contact of pure devotees and became a pure devotee. So it is the process every devotee actually goes through. So in every devotee's life, there is some pure devotee who comes in contact with him, or he comes in contact with the pure devotee, and that is the nature of bhakti actually. So very nice summary, very nicely recapped, and done with a lot of devotion, lot of I would say, realization. So really, really appreciate. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Let us now move to the subject matter of the class today. So we are now continuing our discussion on chapter number 2, chapter number 3. 11 verses already done, already recapped by Vasudevan Prabhu also. But we start a little bit with this verse, which I also request the devotees to remember it, because it gives us a lot of hope. So for bhakti process, there is no qualification required, only some simple enthusiasm and some simple faith in the process of bhakti. That's all what is needed. For other processes, like we recently discussed about this process of Ashtanga Yoga, where we saw that we need to go through asan, yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharan, dhyan, samadhi, etc., etc. So there also we need some qualification to continue with some stage of Ashtanga Yoga. We also saw how a neophyte Ashtanga Yogi who has not cleansed of his desires actually has to go through the Krama Mukti process and so on. But the bhakti process is so potent, we simply need some desire, some faith in the process of bhakti, some attraction towards the Lord, little bent of mind towards the Lord. That is all what is needed. Adau Shraddha. That is all what is needed. Some Shraddha is needed. So this verse, Akam Sarva Kamo Va Moksha Kam Udaradhi. Now you can see this 10th verse is coming in that part of the Bhagavatam where Shukdev Goswami has just finished the narration of people who take to the process of karma kanda, demigod worship, etc., etc. Before that, he has taken up the process of Ashtanga Yoga, where who desires for liberation. So, demigod worshippers desire for many material desires. Ashtanga Yogis desires for liberation, and devotees only desire the Supreme Lord. So, some of us, or any one of us, may fall in either of the category. May probably in our satsang, maybe we are more inclined towards the bhakti of the Lord. But if in general, if we want to categorize people, they either would be in three categories. Either they are desirous of material benefits, or desirous of liberation, or desirous of the lotus feet of the Lord. In that sequence, in that order. But ultimately, for anyone, whatever may be the desire, no desire, full of desire, desiring liberation, any type of them, ultimate goal is, or ultimate occupational duty is, or ultimate duty is the worship of the Supreme Lord. Akam, Sarva Kam, and Moksha Kam. Then Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajet Purusham Param. So Tivrena means intense devotional service. Intense devotional service. Like you would say, sometimes when we are appearing for some exams, so we generally would study the whole year about the exams, but ultimately when the exams comes near, then Tivrena means we forget everything and only study for the exam. So Tivrena Bhakti Yogena means nothing doing anything else. Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, only Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, single-minded focus. We include ourselves in the worship of the Supreme Lord. So this is 10th verse is kind of summarizing the discussion so far that he has already done in chapter number 1, chapter number 2, and in the beginning of the chapter number 3. So Akam, Sarvakam, and Mokshakam. Ultimately, any category you are in, you need to do Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. What it means is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then you are on the right track. Then this 11th verse was summarized by Prabhu, where now Shukdev Goswami is saying that even if you are a demigod worshipper, then you need to need not think that simply because you are demigod worshipper, you will naturally move towards Bhakti Yoga process. For that, you need association of devotees. He himself gave the example of Maharshi Valmiki. Then Narad Muni himself was in that category, like that. So devotee association, what do we get in association? In association, the most important thing that we get is desires. If we perform non-devotee association, we get non-devotee desires, earn money, name, fame, prestige, like that. But if we take devotee association, we get devotional desires. Devotional desires means how to worship the Supreme Lord, how to love the Supreme Lord, like that. So that is why devotee association is the key. And in any devotee's life, you will find that devotee association will be the key how that person would have come to devotional service. So these are two very beautiful verses, specifically the 10th one, which you should try to remember. Then starting now from the 12th verse. So in the 12th verse, somebody might ask, how can one who has always worshipped the demigod develop devotion to the Lord in the end? In the previous verse, it is being mentioned that by devotee association, we can actually, that the demigod worshippers also can come to bhakti. But then the question is that if somebody has not always worshipped demigod, then how somebody can be attracted towards the association of devotees, or in the end develop devotion to the Lord? How is it possible? So in order to answer this, Shukdev Goswami is presenting this verse where he's saying that even people who are jnanis can take to bhakti, then why not demigod worshippers can take to bhakti? So verse number 11 and verse number 12 are kind of extension of verse number 10. So in the verse number 10, we have one category called devotees, another category called material worshippers or religious materialists, or in the third category is moksha, desirers of liberation, moksha kami. So in this verse, it is being said that even if the person is at the process of Jnana Yoga, ultimately he can take to bhakti, then why not demigod worshippers take to bhakti? So we will recite this verse, and before that, I like to have 2-3 names who can help me in the recitation and the reading of the text in the class today. Anybody would like to
Hare
volunteer?
Krishna.
I will, Prabhuji.
I will be there.
Okay, so now I think 4 names. So we have the first one was first one who did speak. I heard
Me.
Rakesh ji,
Yes.
me,
Vrindavaneshwari.
Vrindavaneshwari. So Rakesh ji, Anand Prada Mataji, and Vrindavaneshwari Mataji. Is that okay? 3 names? Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Let me write. So Rakesh ji, please continue the recitation with this 12th verse. Please, first of all, recognize the meter. You are very good at it, I know.
Vasant Tilka, Prabhuji.
Very nice. Okay, please continue. Others also could recognize this is Vasant Tilka. What is the main identity of Vasant Tilka? What is the main identity of Vasant Tilka? How to recognize Vasant Tilka Chanda?
The number of
How many-
syllables.
how many?
There are 13
14.
syllables.
14.
14.
14. Okay.
14. And if we are reading it in English script, Roman script, then how to recognize 14 syllables? Rough
All
formula.
vowels to be counted.
Vowels. Okay, so Vrindavaneshwari Mataji, please count the number of vowels in the first line.
Yeah. A,
1,
A. So
2,
1,
3,
2, 3, 4,
4,
5,
5, 6,
6, 7,
7.
8.
I think this, yeah, 8.
No, here it is 8, no, double T, 8.
8, okay.
8, 9,
Hmm.
10,
Uh,
11,
uh,
12, and 13.
13. So that is a rough formula. This vritti, vritta. So this is also can be counted as a vowel.
Yeah. Yes.
But if you go to the second line, so 1,
Yes.
2,
1, 2,
3,
3,
4, 5,
5,
6,
6,
7,
7,
8,
8,
9,
9,
10,
10,
11,
11,
12,
12,
13,
13,
14.
14. Okay.
Isn't it? So 14 vowels you will find, and that will be Vasanta Tilka. And which is the reference verse for Vasanta Tilka?
Brahma Samhita
Purusham.
Govindamadi Purusham. Govindamadi Purusham. So Rakesh ji, are you ready?
Yes.
Shall we recite?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So, yeah, so this is the 12th verse. Just 1 second. Jnanam yada pratinivratta gunormi chakram
Jnanam yada pratinivratta gunormi chakram
atma prasaruta yatra guneshva sangaha
atma prasada utayatra guneshva sangha
kaivalya sammata pathaswatha bhakti yogaha
कैवल्य सम्मत पतस्त्वत् भक्ति योगः
को निर्व्रतो हरिकथा सुरतिं न कुर्यात्
को निर्व्रतो हरिकथा सुरतिं न कुर्यात्.
Excellent, excellent, very nice. Okay, please read the translation.
If Gyan, which number one creates indifference to the waves and whirlpool of material modes, second is self-satisfying, third is free from attachment to gunas and is transcendental and thus approved by authorities, leads to bhakti yoga, then who could fail to be attracted to Harikatha?
So, as I was mentioning to you, that in this verse, Shukdev Goswami is saying that if Jnanis can be attracted to bhakti, then why not demigod worshippers can be attracted to bhakti? So, he's giving this verse, very beautiful verse. Jnanam yad aprati nivratta gunormi chakram. Jnanam yad aprati aprati nivratta. Aprati nivratta. So jnanam means actually worshipping or endeavoring to worship or endeavoring to merge into the impersonal Brahman, mainly the impersonal jnana. So if jnana, which creates indifference to the waves and whirlpool of the material modes. Material modes means sattva, rajas and tamas. Guna. You see this in the first line, guno, urmi and chakram. Urmi. Urmi means waves. And chakram. Chakram means the cycle or whirlpool. Whirlpool in Hindi we call it bhamar. So people who have seen these bhamar actually are, there are some places in a river where there is a circular motion that is created for some reason. And if you are there into this bhamar, actually you get sucked down into the river. So that whirlpool is there. So if jnana, which creates indifference to the waves and whirlpool of material modes, gunas. So the gunas have been compared to waves and gunas have been compared to whirlpool. So waves means what? You would know gunas, sattva guna, rajoguna and tamaguna. Waves, what is the nature of waves? The nature of waves is to go up and come down, go up and come down. Similarly, people who are caught up in the gunas, sometimes they are in the rajogunas, sometimes they are in the sattva guna, sometimes they are in the tamaguna. Sometimes they are going up, sometimes they are going down, sometimes they are going up, sometimes they are going down. So the material modes have been compared to waves. But there's another comparison given to the gunas, which is whirlpool. Whirlpool means cycle. So people who are caught up in the whirlpool of gunas, actually they are caught up in the cycle of birth and death. So you can see these material modes actually have been given a very apt comparison by Shukdev Goswami, waves and whirlpool. But if somebody who is following the Jnana Yoga process, or maybe the Ashtanga Yoga process, the Jnanis, By engaging in the process of Ashtanga Yoga, etc., or Jnana Yoga, it can create indifference to the waves and whirlpool of material modes. The sadhaka or the practitioner can actually reduce or overcome the effect or the forces of material modes. Sattva guna, Rajo guna, and Tamo guna. One can overcome, the Jnani can overcome. Then, second point is Atma Prasada. Atma Prasada. Atma Prasada means once somebody has overcome the effects of modes of material nature, Rajogun, Tamogun, and Satogun, then he becomes very self-satisfied. Brahma Bhuta Prasanna Atma na Shochati na Kankshati. Brahma Bhut. Brahma Bhut. Brahma Bhut is that person who has already overcome the impressions of the material modes, gunas. And then he becomes Brahma Bhuta Prasanna Atma. He becomes Prasanna Atma, self-satisfied, or Atma Prasad. Atma Prasad. And then Uta Yatra Guneshva Asangaha. Guneshva Asangaha. Asangaha means detached. No Sangha, no attachment. So one meaning of Sangha is association, but another meaning of Sangha is attached. So Yatra Guneshva Asangaha is free from attachment to gunas. And then Kaivalya Sammata Pathas Tva Atha Bhakti Yogaha. Kaivalya. Kaivalya means transcendental. Transcendental. So this process of jnana, it creates indifference to the modes. It is self-satisfying. It gives you detachment from the gunas, and it is transcendental. It is kaivalya. And sammata. Sammata means it is approved by the authorities. So this process of Ashtanga Yoga or Jnana Yoga actually is approved by the authorities. It is not somebody who is following a unauthorized process. It is an authorized process. So the point is, then he's saying Pathastva Atha Bhakti Yoga. Atha Bhakti Yoga means it actually leads you to Bhakti Yoga. So when the process of jnana, which creates indifference to the modes, is self-satisfying, is free from the attachment to the modes, it is transcendental and approved by the authorities, can lead to Bhakti Yoga, then O Nibrato Hari Kathasu Ratim Natudya. Then who could fail to be attracted to the Hari Katha? Everyone can be attracted to Hari Katha. When Jnana Yogi can be attracted to Hari Katha, then even materialists or religious materialists can also become attracted to Hari Katha. So that is the main meaning of this verse. So in the purport to this verse, to this shloka, Srila Prabhupada makes a very beautiful point. He's saying that once somebody starts the process of Hari Katha, slowly and slowly the detachment, the feeling of detachment, vairagya, it starts to develop within that person. And how does that person develops vairagya? Slowly, slowly he will find that he will become disinterested in mundane topics. Then he will find that he is becoming disinterested in social engagements. Sometimes people like a lot going to this social engagement, that social engagement. But when somebody develops this Hari Katha, he develops some distaste towards social engagement. Then also for political engagement, ultimately his relatives, and when it becomes very, very intense, he will become disinterested in his own body also. So like this, you can see how the process of engaging in Hari Katha, hearing Hari Katha, can lead us towards this detachment and ultimately towards the love of God. So this is very nicely explained by Prabhupada in the purport through this point. Let us now move to the next one. Okay. So we are now completed the one particular section of this chapter number 3, where the discussion was between demigod worship versus pure devotional service. So Shukdev Goswami elaborated on the process of demigod worship, gave some series of shlokas where he emphasized upon whom to worship for which benefit. Ultimately, he gave his opinion that even if you are demigod worshipper, even if you are a jnani or a mokshkami, even if you are a devotee, everybody actually has to engage into the devotional service of the Lord. So ultimately, he has concluded this section that demigod worship or Ashtanga yoga or whichever worship, ultimately everyone has to take to the pure devotional service. Now, what we will see in the next section, the conversation zooms out. Right now, the conversation was zoomed in. Zoomed in means the conversation what we were hearing was between Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. But how did this conversation started? This conversation started in another conversation, which was between Sut Goswami and the sages of Naimisharanya. So ultimately, Bhagavatam starts with the discussion between Sut Goswami and the sages of Naimisharanya. And while that conversation was going on, the topic came how Parikshit Maharaj came in contact with Shukdev Goswami, how Bhagavatam was narrated to him, etc., etc. And in order to mention that, that discussion between Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj started. Now the conversation once again comes out from the discussion between Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj and comes back to the original one, which is between Sut Goswami and the sages of Naimisharanya. So Bhagavatam, sometimes people get very confused because there are many conversations, and sometimes conversation goes to multiple levels. So ultimately, we need to understand that level 1 conversation, the main chief conversation, is going between Sut Goswami and the sages of Naimisharanya. And then within that conversation, there is another conversation which is nested. Nested means after that, in that conversation, the another reference of another conversation. So that is level 2 conversation, which is between Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. Now we are coming out from the level 2 and going back to the level 1 conversation. So level 1 conversation is this. So now Rakesh ji, please read what is written on the screen.
Shaunak said, the son of Vyasdev, Sril Sukdev Goswami, was a highly learned sage and was able to describe things in a poetic manner. What did Maharaj Parikshit again inquire from him after hearing all that he had said?
So this is again, you can see Sut Goswami sitting here, and Shaunak Rishi, who is leader of the assembly of the sages, is rising up and then asking this question. So that is what going on. The conversation has once again zoomed out and gone back to the Naimisharanya. Earlier, now the conversation in the second canto was starting from on the bank of Ganges, where Parikshit Maharaj and Shukdev Goswami are conversing. Now again, flashback over, going back to Shaunakadi Rishis. So Shaunakadi Rishis, Shaunak Rishi is saying to Sut Goswami, addressing to Sut Goswami, the son of Vyasdev, Srila Shukdev Goswami, was highly learned sage and was able to describe things in a poetic manner. Poetic manner. So poetic manner, here Prabhupada in the purport is giving this elaborate discussion that a devotee actually has many qualities. Devotee has many qualities, and devotee, one of the other quality of a devotee is that he is also a poet. Poet means kavi. So that is what how Srila Prabhupada describes it. So poetic manner could mean several things here. Poetic manner could mean that maybe Shukdev Goswami narrated the Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj as a poetry, or he was kind of poetic in his approach towards Bhagavatam. He's explaining things in a very in a way which is very poetic and so on. So the quality of poet is that they explain the thing in a very beautiful manner, in a very sweet manner, choosing very very beautiful words which touch the heart and so on, with lot of emotion, with lot of devotion and so on. So like that. So that is what now Shaunak Rishi is saying, that he was a very learned sage and he described things in a very poetic manner. And then he kind of raises another question. what did Maharaj Parikshit again inquire from him after hearing all that he had said? So as I was mentioning to you, that Parikshit Maharaj asked questions how to live in this world and how to leave this world. What is the duty of a person in general, and what is the duty of a person who is about to die? So these were the two chief questions that Parikshit Maharaj had asked Shukdev Goswami. And from the conversation so far, we understand that answer to all the questions have been elaborately given by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit. So Sonak Rishi recognized that the question have been answered. So now, in order to continue the conversation, he raises the question once again. He's saying that what more did he inquire? Parikshit Maharaj inquired something more. So please, can you now explain to us what more did Parikshit Maharaj inquire? So let us now go to the next verse. So before I ask Rakesh ji to read the 14th text, now what I would like to say is, now the rest of the third chapter of this second canto is encouragement by Shaunak Rishi to Sut Goswami that he actually kindly continue to go on and on and on. And he is sharing his experience of hearing Krishna Katha, how much he is enjoying Krishna Katha, how much he is enjoying the narration of Sut Goswami, that he is reciting Bhagavatam before him. So he is giving his own realization. Shaunak Rishi is now giving his own realization to Sut Goswami in the rest of the chapter, 14, 15, up till 25th. It is all spoken by Shaunak Rishi to Sut Goswami, glorifying the process of bhakti, glorifying the process of chanting, hearing, Shravanam, Kirtanam, glorifying the process of Bhakti Yoga, etc. Mainly to encourage Sut Goswami that, sir, you kindly continue to explain. More questions Parikshit Maharaj might have asked, so please don't stop. Kindly explain us, kindly describe what more questions that Parikshit Maharaj had asked. Okay, Rakesh ji, please read.
Learned Sut Goswami, please continue to explain such topics to us because we are all eager to hear. Besides that, topics which result in the discussion of the Lord Hari should certainly be discussed in the assembly of devotees.
So now you can see in the first line, he's saying we are all eager to hear. So they feel very, very satisfied by the narration so far. And then not only satisfied, he's giving his feedback, customer feedback. So we sometimes ask people, please explain us how did you like the class? What did you like? If something more we can explain, we can help you and so on. So here the customer is, without asking, giving the feedback. So which is the best feedback? That he's encouraging the speaker. So besides that, topics which result in the discussion of the Lord Hari should certainly be discussed in the assembly of the devotees. Now, today in the summary, our Vasudevan Prabhu explained his experience that one day his friends and relatives came, and for 1 hour what they were doing, they were simply discussing Harikatha. So similar realization Shaunak Rishi is also sharing with us. Sir, besides that, we are very much satisfied what you are speaking. But besides that, if devotees are assembled somewhere, what else they should do? There's nothing else they should be doing. If devotees are there, then they should only be discussing Hari Katha in their assembly. So if two drunkards meet, what are they expected to do? Only drink. If two cricket lovers are going to meet, then what are they going to do? Discuss cricket. And if two devotees of the Lord are going to meet, or few devotees of the Lord are going to meet, what are they going to discuss? Simply they are going to discuss about Lord Hari. That is the main idea here. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes a very important point, a very nice point. He's saying that books like Ramayana and Mahabharata are actually considered at par, equal to the Vedas. Why? only because of the reason that it is about the Lord Supreme, Lord Shri Krishna, Lord Shri Ramchandra, and so on. So just because these books, although they are in the category of history, itihas, but since these itihasas are only about glorifying the Lord, they are actually considered at par, equal footing as the Vedas, as the Smritis, like that. So that is the point that Srila Prabhupada mentions. Also, in our study of the first canto of Bhagavatam, recently in our shloka memorization classes, we have learned these verses. Nayad Vachas Chitra Padam Harer Yasho, where we discussed that if there is a literature which does not glorify the Lord, even if it is written with a lot of beautiful ornamental language, it is useless. It is like the pilgrimage of crows. Then we discussed Neshkarme Appya Achyuta Bhava Varjitam, that even if our work is devoid of Achyuta Bhava, devoid of the emotions or the mention of Achyuta, mention of Lord Krishna, whether it may be Neshkarmya, it may be Sakam Karma, whether it may be Nishkam Karma, any category of karma, but if it is Achyuta Bhava Varjitam, without any mention of the Lord Hari, Lord Achyuta, then it is simply, then that is not actually liked by the transcendentalists who are elevated. That is what that idea is. Similarly, Shruta Goswami is also, or Shaunak Rishi is also saying that besides that topic which result in the discussion of the Lord Hari should certainly be discussed in the assembly of devotees. So assembly of devotees means only Hari Katha. Okay, we go to the 15th verse. So, Prabhuji, this is your last one. Please read this.
Shaunak Rishi inspired Sud Goswami to speak. Maharaja Parikshit, the grandson of the Pandavas, was from his very childhood a great devotee of the Lord. Even while playing with dolls, he used to worship Lord Krishna by imitating the worship of the family deity.
Here, now Shaunak Rishi is saying, he's appreciating. So he made this point in the assembly of the devotees, Harikatha should be discussed. So he's giving examples. He's giving one example of Maharaj Parikshit. The grandson of the Pandavas was from his very childhood a great devotee of the Lord. From the very childhood, he was the great devotee of the Lord. Even while playing with dolls, he used to worship Lord Krishna by imitating the worship of the family deity. So, first of all, he's saying that in the assembly of devotees, there should be only Harikatha. Then he comes to the example of Maharaj Parikshit and saying that he was such a nice devotee that even as a child, when he would play with dolls or with some toys, he would do it. That play was also something like worshipping Krishna only. Sometimes we see children, we can recognize the nature of the family or the characteristic of the family simply by observing their children. What the children do, because children imitate their parents, imitate their elders. So if we find that a children is performing something very devotional, that speaks volumes about his family. That is one indicator, not necessarily it may be true, because we also see Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj's father was a demon, Hiranyakashipu. But Prahlad Maharaj, because of the association with Narad Muni and so on, could do all that devotional activities. But in general, I'm saying that when somebody as a child, we can observe them and find them doing certain activities. From that, those activities we can many times determine how their family would be like, from which family they would come from, and so on. So here, Shaunak Rishi is saying that Parikshit Maharaj, when he was a child, he was even playing with dolls. He was imitating worshipping of the deity. So he would playing something, and then maybe in playing, he's together with his friends, others, and other boys. He's saying that, okay, let us play worship, like people play chor sipahi, police, and etc., hide and seek, etc. He's saying that let us play how to worship the deity. Maybe they are trying to imitate the elders The Pandavas were already great devotees of the Lord. So it is a very important instruction to the parents here in this verse, indirectly, that the kind of environment we create in our homes rubs upon our children also. And if the children are born in such an environment where they find devotional atmosphere, where they find worships going on, where they find service to the devotees are going on, that will certainly touch and rub upon their own character, upon their own upon their own consciousness and so on. So family environment has a very powerful impact on the consciousness of the children. So as Parikshit was raised in the family of devotees, so he acquired those traits. Similarly, Prabhupada in the purport gives his own example. In his own life, his father was also a great devotee of Lord Krishna. And because of his association with his father, many times he would observe festivals like Rath Yatra and so on. Not only that, his father would encourage children by profusely, charitably distributing prasad to the children. So children like a lot. Children like sweets a lot. So the father would distribute sweets as prasad. The children would really enjoy. Similarly, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, the Guru Maharaj of Srila Prabhupada, was also a son of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, another exalted Acharya, another Vaishnava. So, as I was mentioning, that association, Bhakti is created only by Bhakti. So, association is a very important theme, a very important part of Bhakti. And then some devotees, some people are really fortunate who maybe have committed some bhakti in their previous lives. They are given by the arrangement of the Lord birth in such families that they are facilitated to do bhakti in their next lives also. Similarly, bhakti was, Parikshit Maharaj was naturally very much inclined towards Krishna, spontaneously inclined towards Lord Krishna right from the childhood. So that speaks volumes about Parikshit Maharaj. He was actually a devotee of the Lord. He was actually maybe the associate of the Lord. He was naturally very much inclined. So for such people, Prabhupada in the purport is saying that these are called Nitya Siddhas. Nitya. Nitya means eternally. But sometimes we may have some children who are not naturally or spontaneously inclined towards the Lord. So even for such children, when they find the devotional environment in the house, facility in the house, then they also can become attracted towards the Lord. And for such people, we can call them Sadhan Siddhas. Sadhan Siddhas means they are not naturally, spontaneously inclined, but when they see their elders, when they see their family members, they tend to develop that attraction naturally. So, association is very, very important. And we discussed about it, how Valmiki Muni became a devotee. He came in association with Narad Muni. How Narad Muni became a devotee. He came in association with the Bhakti Vedantas. Narad Muni was a son of a maid servant, but only by serving Bhakti Vedantas, he became a transcendental spaceman. Now he's a very close associate of the Lord, like that. So we finish this discussion for 15th and then we move to the 16th one. Now we give opportunity to Anand Pradamadaji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Shukdeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, was also full in transcendental knowledge and was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, son of Vasudeva. So there must have been discussion of Lord Krishna, who is glorified by great philosophers and in the company of great devotees.
So the first example given was of Parikshit Maharaj. He was the great devotee. Even from childhood he had attraction. Now he is giving another example. So this example is of Shukdev Goswami. He is saying that Shukdev Goswami was also full in transcendental knowledge, was also a great devotee of the Lord. So there must have been discussion of Lord Krishna, who is glorified by great philosophers and in the company of great devotees. Now the argument, try to understand the argument that Shaunak Rishi is giving here. Shaunak Rishi is saying, my dear sir, please explain what more was discussed between Parikshit Maharaj and Shukdev Goswami. And the reasoning is giving is assuming that there was a discussion between Parikshit Maharaj and Shukdev Goswami. And why? He's assuming that, he's saying that Parikshit was also a great devotee. Even in childhood, he would used to play with dolls. And Shukdev Goswami was also a great devotee. He was also a great learned devotee of the Lord. So certainly, when two great devotees are meeting with together, there must have been a lot of discussion about Krishna Katha. So you must have heard about that Krishna Katha, my dear sir. So don't stop there. Kindly continue and explain. So he's saying, so there must have been discussion of Lord Krishna, who is glorified by great philosophers and in the company of great devotees. So Shaunak Rishi is a very intelligent person. He assumed, he understood that both of them are great devotees. So certainly there must have been more and more discussion. So we don't want to get miss that opportunity. So kindly elaborate. Don't stop here. That's what he's arguing now. So please. Now, one important point we need to understand here is, Prabhupada also makes this point, that although Parikshit Maharaj is acting as a king and Shukdev Goswami is acting as a renunciant, but both are devotees of the Lord. So one is a renunciant devotee, another one is a king devotee. Although one person is acting as a disciple and another person is acting as a spiritual master, but both are devotees. So Shaunak Rishi is saying that when two devotees are meeting, then nothing else can happen except Harikatha. So you must have heard about that Harikatha. Please explain it to all of us. That's how it is going on. So that is the central theme among devotees. Okay. Go to the next one, 17. So this is a very, very important verse. Now, next three verses you will find very beautiful verses. But now the verses explained from here on, 17th till 25th, they will speak about glories of bhakti in a way which tells us that if somebody does not do Harikatha, does not hear Harikatha, what are the ill effects of not hearing Harikatha? So right now we have discussed about the glories of Harikatha. So somebody who does not hear Harikatha, a materialist and so on, or people like that, or maybe religious materialists, if they are not hearing Harikatha, what are the ill effects of not hearing Harikatha? So very powerful verses, very graphic verses. You will find that this section of Bhagavatam will be a little hard hitting, so that it can jolt us from our slumber. If we have yet not developed, after hearing so much glories about Harikatha, if we are feeling discomfortable or uninterested or unmotivated of hearing Harikatha, this section is going to shake us. Oh, this is about, if you are not hearing, still not encouraged to hear Harikatha, please, this section is for you. Okay. So Mataji, we'll recite the words. Kindly repeat after me. Ayurharati Vaipumsam
Ayurharti Vaipumsam
Udyanastam Chayan Asau
Udyan Astam Cha Yan Asau
Tasyarte Yat Kshanonita
Yartheya Shanonita
Uttama Shloka Vartaya.
Uttama Shloka Vartaya. Both by rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all good personality of God.
So, Ayur Harati Vaipumsam. Ayur means the age. Harati means taking away, stealing. Vaipumsam. Pumsam actually means the man, the human being. Ayur Harati Vaipumsam Udyan Astam Chayan Asau. Asau means sun. Udyan means rising sun. Astam means the sun which is setting up or which is going down. So it is saying that with the rising of the sun and with the setting of the sun, Ayur Harati Vaipumsam. So the age, the duration of life is getting decreased and decreased and decreased by every sunrise and by every sunset. Our duration of life is decreasing by every sunrise and by every sunset. Tasyarte yat chano nita. Tasyarte yat chano nita. Uttama shloka vartaya. Tasyarte means except for those. Tasyarte except for those. Yat chano nita, who are utilizing every moment, of their time in what? Uttam shloka vartaya, in doing Uttam shloka varta, discussion of Uttam shlok, discussion about Lord Krishna. Those people who are discussing about Lord Krishna every second, their ayu is not decreasing. But those who are not doing this, their ayu is decreasing every rise of sun and every setting of sun. So that is the meaning of this verse. Now, what does this mean? If a devotee, if a pure devotee, or even if a sadhan bhakta is doing discussion of Harikatha, we see that they also die, they also become old, they also leave their body. So how do we understand this particular thing, that if they are engaged in Uttam Shloka Vartaya, then their ayu is not harati, their ayu is not taken away. So who can answer from our devotees, what does this mean, that if we are engaged in Uttam Shloka Vartaya, then our ayu is not harati? Any guesses, any answers?
No, I was just reflecting that when people are not engaged, like we are not engaged in devotional service, then definitely we will be thinking only of material matters, like worldly pleasures, which will give so much of distress, which will give so much of tensions, to be precise. So does that mean that it takes away our lifespan, because that results in physical and mental illness also?
Okay,
That
what
is
more
my
does it
reflection.
result? What more does it result?
That
Non-devotional
it'll be
topics.
useless. Like you will be simply wasting the purpose of the human life is wasted.
Yeah, purpose is wasted, but what is the consequence of such discussions?
The consequence of discussion of Harikatha, you mean?
Non-harikatha, non-devotional topics.
No. So that is what I told you. No?
What is the consequence? More
The
consequence.
consequences, the physical and mental illness.
Yeah, physical and mental illness. That is what you mentioned. But what happens when we get this physical and mental illness? What happens next?
We get more entangled in material. Sorry.
Yes, Prabhu Vasudev too. Yes.
We get more entangled in material aspects of life, and we are moving away from spiritual.
Okay. When we get entangled in more material aspects of life, then what happens?
Then we forget spiritual progress, and the spiritual doors also get closed. And we engage in
and when the spiritual, exactly. That's what I was trying to come at. We get entangled into the material life, our consciousness becomes materialistic, and what happens with this materialistic consciousness? We once again fall down into the cycle of birth and death. Again and again. So Ayur Harati Vai Pumsam. Ayur Harati Vai Pumsam. So nothing
in the law. You get in that whirlpool.
Yeah. So yes, Shivan Prabhu is correct. We get entangled into the whirlpool of cycle of birth and death. So ultimately, there is no change in general to our quality of life. We were doing the same thing: birth, death, old age, disease. That was going on in this life. The same thing goes on in the next life. Same thing goes on in the next life. And if by some accident we start doing some vikarmas, some bad karmas, then we actually fall down into animal species, going into the hellish planets and so on. So that is what is going on. And that is Ayur Harati Vai Pumsam. Ayur Harati Vaikumsam. But if we, on the contrary, we engage into Uttam Shloka Vartaya, what happens then? What happens then? Then we develop Krishna consciousness. We develop Bhagavad Chetana. We develop godly consciousness. And what is the result of this godly consciousness? Neha bhikramunasho asti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. So at least we will be saved from some hellish planets. We will be saved from some lower species, taking birth in lower species. And if we are doing it more sincerely, certainly we will get a better life. We might get a life in the family of rich people, in the family of maybe transcendentalists, or best, we can get a birth in the life of devotees. If we get in the birth in the life of devotees, then ultimately there is nothing better than that. We will have a much more faster progress in our devotional life. So that is something which we need to understand. So here, indirectly, in this particular verse, the objective of human life is given. So what is that objective? Can you read that objective in this verse? Vrindavaneshwari Mataji, can you read the objective of human life in this verse?
Well, the objective is the utility of time, the best utility of time.
Yeah, how to do that best utility of time?
By Krishna Katha, hearing and
yeah, Yat Chano Nita Uttam Shloka Vartaya. Without wasting even 1 second, continue to do Uttam Shloka Vartaya. So indirectly, the objective of human life is given in this particular verse. Uttam Shloka Vartaya. You are doing some swadharma, you are acting as a good father, you are acting as a good husband, you are acting as a good employee, you are acting as a good employer, you are acting as a good prime minister, you are acting as a good leader of opposition, etc., etc., etc. Ultimately, you need to come to this conclusion. Tasyarte yachano nita uttam shloka vartaya. That is actually the objective of life. Prabhupada gives a very nice analogy in the purport. He is comparing Harikatha with an intravenous drug. So what is the benefit of intravenous drug? So we have Ishwar Prabhu also in our assembly, but maybe others also may answer that. So when we take drug by orally through mouth, eating, drinking water, and there is another way of taking drug through intravenous injection. So what is the benefit or what is the difference between the two? Anyone can tell?
Instant response.
Instant response. Yeah. Very good. Instant response. So Prabhupada is comparing Harikatha to an intravenous drug. The moment Harikatha enters our ears, it gives us instant response towards some attraction towards Lord Hari, Lord Krishna. So he's saying that Harikatha is like intravenous drugs. It acts immediately. Similarly, Harikatha, when heard, it acts immediately on our consciousness. Compared to other processes like Karma Yoga or Dhyan Yoga and so on, those are not intravenous drugs. But Harikatha is like an intravenous drug. So, my dear devotees, the whole purpose is Srimad Bhagavatam is continuously saying, chanting, glorifying, hearing and remembering of the Lord, Shravanam, Kirtanam and Smaranam. These are actually the most potent forms of bhakti. And I would say that the greatest asset in our life is not our bank balance. The greatest asset in our life is not our name, fame, prestige. But the greatest asset but the greatest asset in our life actually is if we have this realization that we need to do Harikatha always. Tasyarte yachano nita uttam shloka vartaya. So that is the greatest asset of our life, because this asset will continue to help us move towards the Lord. Move towards the Lord. move towards the Lord, not towards the hellish planets, not towards the hellish planets, not towards the cycle of birth and death. That is what it means, that people who are not engaged in Harikatha, actually by every rise and setting of the sun, their ayu is decreasing. They are not moving towards Krishna, they are moving away from Krishna. But we as devotees who are continuously trying our best to engage into Uttam Shlok Vartaya, we are moving towards Lord Krishna and so on. And then Prabhupada gives another very beautiful analogy, a very beautiful example, not analogy, but example. He's saying that if we perform some material benefit of doing some pious activity, if we do some pious activity like charity, so charity may not necessarily be devotional. Sometimes people give charity to old age homes, sometimes people give charity to orphanages, so they are not necessarily devotional. But what it means is, even if we give charity to for a non-devotional cause, the result of giving such charity is beneficial in the next life. So in the purport is saying that if we give charity to somebody who is a non-devotee, then what happens? In the next life, we get that charity back in equal proportion. So we gave 100 rupees. So something of the similar value we get back in our next life. Then he says that if we give charity to a half Brahmana, only some Brahmanical qualities he have, then in the next life, we get charity double the amount. We get back that. Then if we give the charity to a full Brahmana, who is a complete Brahmana, then in the next life, we get back that charity by 100 times. Similarly, he's saying that if we give charity to somebody who is Ved Paraga. Ved Paraga means self-realized in the knowledge of the Vedas. Then we receive back that charity unlimited times. So unlimited times. Now you know how to become a millionaire, billionaire, and so on, specifically in your next life. You start giving charity to somebody who is a Ved Paraga or a self-realized soul. So you get in your next life infinite times back. But this is still on the material plane. Still on the material plane. Then Prabhupada says, there is a guarantee that the charity will come back. This is mentioned in the Smriti Shastras, that if you give charity and you give to different personalities, different receivers, non-Brahmana, half Brahmana, full Brahmana, Ved Paraga, etc., certainly you are going to receive back. In some cases you receive back small amount, some cases you receive back unlimited amount. So he's saying that when this is the case for giving a material benefit, or when this is the material benefit of doing some pious activity like charity, then what to speak of the benefit of hearing Hari Katha? So when you hear Hari Katha, you are not going to receive 10 times, 100 times, unlimited times your money back, but what you are going to get is association of pure devotees. You get in the association of pure devotees, if you are doing hearing and chanting, what you get is the guarantee of eternal life, going back to Godhead, not coming back. So that is the glory of hearing Hari Katha. That is the point. Okay. We go to the next one. So Anantrata Mataji, please recite with me. Now here, the same point is being given by giving some analogies. They are hard-hitting analogies. So please be ready for some hard-hitting treatment from Bhagavatam. Sarva kim na jivanti.
Sarva kim na jivanti.
Vastra kim na shwasanti uta.
Vastra kim na shravansantyuta.
Shwasanti uta.
Prasantayuta.
Na khadanti na mehanti.
Tathadanti na mehanti.
Kim grame pashavo pare.
Grame pashvo pare.
Yeah, please read.
Do the trees not live? Do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? All around us, do the beasts not eat and discharge semen?
So here the analogy is given. Analogy of a tree. analogy of a bellow of a ironsmith or a blacksmith, and a analogy of a beast, a pashu, an animal is given. So what is the analogy of a tree means? Analogy of tree saying, Taravaha kimna jivanti. Taravaha means a tree. Jivanti means live. Does the tree not live? Sometimes you will find there are trees which are very, very old trees. Some trees are 100 years old. Some trees are 500 years old. Even if you go to Vrindavan, some people might say that in Imli Tal, there is one Imli tree, which is as old as appearance of Lord Krishna, something like 5,000 years old. So, Tarva Kimna Jivanti. Does the tree not live? They live long, long life. Bhastra Kimna Shvasantiuta. Bhastra actually means the bellow. You see this picture? This person is a blacksmith. He is using some iron and he is lighting up some fire. This fire needs some air, and that air is provided by pumping this bellow. So pumping of bellow is something like similar to the pumping of lungs. Like we human beings have lungs, so we also pump air in, out, in, out. Similarly, the bellow also pump air in, out, and so on. So he's saying, do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? They also breathe. Then na khadanti na mehanti. Khadanti means eating. Mehanti. Mehanti means discharge semen. Discharge semen means engaging into sexual activities. So all around us, kim grame pashavo pare. Grame means village. Pashavo means animal. So we see all around us in our locality, the animals are eating, the animals are having sexual relationship with another animal. So now we see that trees also live a very long life. But is that a very good life? Simply standing in one place and not doing any devotional service, simply standing like a tree. So trees sometimes are glorified for many, many other virtues, like they are very tolerant, they give a lot of fruits without asking anything in return, etc., etc. So in that context, sometimes trees are glorified. But in some other context, trees have been given an analogy which is in a negative sense. So here the analogy is given in a negative sense. That standing like a tree means not reciprocating, not doing any devotional service, etc. Although you may have a very long life, you may live for 100 years, you may live for 500 years, etc. But if it is without any devotional service, then simply it is a life like a tree. Life like a tree, standing only for a long, long time. Nothing else. Nothing added. No value addition. No progress. Similarly, Vastra Kimna Shvasantyuta. The bellow of a blacksmith also breathe air. In, out, in, out, in, out. But the bellow of a blacksmith does not engage into devotional service. Does not engage into devotional service. Then what is the life? What is the use? Then animals. We see animals engaging into sexual activities, animals engaging into eating, etc. So sometimes people think that eating is the only purpose of life. Sometimes people think that having good sexual engagement with some another partner is the aim of life. That enjoyment is actually the main purpose of life. But if those lives are devoid of devotional service, then we are no better than animals, only engaged in eating and only engaged in maithunam, only engaged in sexual activities. No good use. So like that, there is also another verse in the Puranas, in the literature. Ahar nidra bhay maithunam cha samanyam etat pashubhir naranam dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pashubhir samana. So like that, there are many, many people who live different kinds of philosophies in this world. Khao, piyo, maja karo. Live life king size. Just do it. Ye jindagi na milegi dobara. So all those philosophies are not the right philosophies to live this life for. Life is actually meant for doing tapasya. Life is actually meant for realizing our original identity as a spirit soul, as the servant of the Supreme Lord, and engage into his seva, engaged into his devotional service. So people in the modern world do not have any faith in afterlife. They do not have any faith in eternity of life. They simply think that this is the only life we are getting, and our only objective in this life is to enjoy. That is the only thing that they think. But this is the root cause of the problem, that the people don't believe in eternal life. Trees, like trees, like bellows of a blacksmith, like animals, they're simply wasting life only by living long life, or endeavoring only to live healthy life, or endeavoring to eat better, or endeavoring to have a better sex life. That is all what they're trying to do. So we need to understand that that is not actually life. Compared to these people, compared to a very long life, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only lived this on this planet only for 48 years. Similarly, there are other devotees who have had very short life. Shankaracharya lived only for 32, 33 years. But all that life was, every moment of that life was full of meaning, full of purpose, full of the goal to realize that we have to go back to Godhead, go back to Lord Krishna. So that is the another analogy that is given here by, who is giving this analogy? This analogy is given by Shaunak Rishi. Shaunak Rishi. He is inspiring Suta Goswami to speak more and more. So that is how he is giving these analogies. Okay. 19. Please read, Mataji, together with me. Shravit Varashtra Kharai.
Shravit Vara Hoshtakharai.
Samstuta Purusha Pashu.
Samsuta Purusha Pashuhu.
Nayat Karna Patho Peto.
Ayat Karna Patrupeto.
Jatu Nama Gadagraja.
Atu Namakadagrajaha. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of the Lord Shri Krishna, the deliverer from evils.
Okay. Now what I realized, I started the words, but I realized we are already 10 minutes above our regular time. And this verse, there are a lot of beautiful points that Prabhupada has given in the purport. So what I will do is, let us pause our class at this point. Let us continue to take this topic from 19th verse in our next class onwards, and stop this class at this point. By the way, in the next Sunday, I have planned to organize the quiz on the last section of Canto number 1. So I have already issued short answer type questions, and I have also issued 10 multiple choice questions. So what I would request is we discuss and revise those questions in the next class. We can take our remaining discussion from the 3rd chapter of the 2nd canto in the subsequent class. So with that, I would like to close the discussion here. All glory to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Vrindavaneshwari Mataji, my apologies. We will invite you for reading in the next class.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. So now we can open up the discussion for any questions, any things that you find very nice, very useful in the class. Now the floor is yours. I hope you found Bhagavatam, this particular section, very, very relishing, very nice, enjoying, etc.
It was useful for me in 2 ways, Prabhu. Like when you were telling us about the importance of association. So you insisted that bhakti comes from bhakti, and the person receives the seed of bhakti or sanskaras in association only. But what like I have understood till now, sometimes in our journey of bhakti, and we feel very much discouraged, because when we are learning to overcome our own shortcomings, then I have found that association give us the strength, the guidance, the proper guidance, and the strength also encouragements also, so that the path or the journey becomes easier. So, thank you.
Yes, Mother. So association is very powerful tool, and we should, like we strive to eat 3 times a day. We get hungry, and we know that when we get hungry for nourishment, for our strength, we need to eat. Similarly, whenever in our life we find that spiritually we are feeling demotivated, just try to look towards your association. Whether are you taking some decent association? If you are not able to do it, maybe for some reasons, just by revising or just by revitalizing your association, you can regain your spiritual strength back. For revitalizing that association, you may have to travel to some other place. You may have to change the association you may already are taking, or you may have to try out some new associations, and so on. Ultimately, association will really help. And certainly, when we are looking for association, it is important that we look for like-minded association. We look for association of a person who is more advanced than us, who is more learned than us, who is more affectionate towards us. Sometimes we may not have that kind of an affectionate relationship with everyone, but if we have someone who is affectionate towards us, that also very much helps. So that is the key. We should remember that.
Yeah, definitely. Also, association comes from this transcendental literature that you have been telling us through shlokas.
Correct. So for those devotees who think because of some reason, maybe their relationship has been spoiled with your other fellow devotee, etc., and maybe for some reason the association is not coming. In such situation, go and take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Go and take shelter of an association of devotees who have been mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, you can associate with the teachings of these books to regain your spiritual strength in worst case scenario. Okay, thank you very much, Mataji. Any other thoughts, any other points?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
Very nice class as usual, and I really enjoyed. I congratulate you on that count. You are taking things higher and higher with each passing day. That is what I really feel. There are 2 or 3 words which are slightly confusing me, not relevant to the today's class, but general. There is word pure devotee. There is another word pseudo devotee, and a third one also andhabhakt or blind follower. So what are what differentiate between the 3, and any symptoms if you can point out that will help us understand.
Yeah, very good question.
Recently there has been some deaths in your place in UP, in Hathras. When there some devotees, more than 120 devotees have died. What kind of devotees they were, and what are they going to get? Will it take them to heaven, or will it take them nowhere? What kind of devotees were they? Let's try to understand.
Yes, Prabhu. So devotee, when we call devotee, actually the word devotee or bhakti is more technically feasible or correct when it is mainly used for Lord Krishna, or I would say devotion towards Lord Krishna. So sometimes we also say Rashtra Bhakti or Desh Bhakti also sometimes we say. But that is not bhakti as such. That is mainly what we can say is, that is mainly loyalty towards the nation and so on. So loyalty towards nation is not the supreme dharma, is not the paradharma. It is something like a subordinate dharma. Like we were mentioning today in the verse memorization class, Tyaktva swadharmam charnam bhujam harer. Tyaktva swadharmam. Swadharmam, as I was mentioning also in the class, we have lot of roles. So as a citizen of a country, as a citizen of a land, we also have a role towards the land of the country, towards the land in which we are living. The land is known as the earth. Earth is like Dharti Ma or Dharti or the mother earth. Mother, why earth is called mother? Because we receive many things from the mother.
Yes.
So we have some duty towards the mother. We have some duty towards the mother because we are receiving something from the mother. So we have a duty towards the mother. So the point is, when we say Rashtra Bhakti or Desh Bhakti, we are trying to say that we need to have some kind of a disposition of duty or kartavya towards the Rashtra, towards the country. But ultimately, our ultimate kartavya is towards the Supreme Lord. That is what we need to understand. And once we understand that, then we are in the category of pure devotees. Pure devotee means whose intention, whose goal, whose focus is very clear. Whose focus is clear that loving devotional service towards Lord Krishna is the ultimate aim of life. If you have that purpose, if you have that aim in your life, then you are in the category of pure devotee. And who are pseudo devotees, who are not pure, who are impure devotees, mixed devotees. Mixed devotees are those devotees who are also having other desires besides this desire. Example is Dhruv Maharaj.
Yes.
Dhruv Maharaj, why did he go to worship in the forest or tapasya in the forest? What was his purpose?
To get his kingdom back.
To get the kingdom bigger than the kingdom of my father.
Right.
He wanted to, so his aim was to get a kingdom bigger than the kingdom of his father.
Right.
So that is not a pure devotee's desire.
Yes.
That is not a pure devotee's desire. So if you look the definition of bhakti also, in the definition of bhakti, what does it say? What does it say? Anupulyana Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktiruttama Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anupulyana Krishnanu Anushilanam Bhaktiruttama. Shuddha Bhakti, Uttama Bhakti is favorably doing service, doing some activity towards Lord Krishna under the guidance of some senior pure devotee. That is Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktiruttama. Then the first line is Anya Abhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Anadi Anavratam. So you need to do activity towards Lord Krishna, but that activity should be devoid of Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. There should not be any other Abhilasha. So Dhruv Maharaj had this Abhilasha of kingdom bigger than the kingdom of my father. I want to get that. So that is not in the purview of pure devotional service. Then Jnana Karma Adi Anavratam. Anavratam means it should not be covered by Jnana and Karma. Jnana means that knowledge which is mainly leading towards liberation or impersonal Brahman, that is Jnana. Karma means Karma Kanda. So today in the class also we discussed about Karma Kanda. Worship this demigod, you will get this. Worship this demigod, you get this. That is Karma Kanda. So we have to do Jnana in Bhakti. We need to take knowledge in Bhakti, but not impersonal Jnana. We need to do some activity. We need to do some karma in Bhakti, but not Karma Kanda. Or even if we do Karma Kanda, our Bhakti should not be covered with Karma Kanda. So as devotees, like my wife also performed this, what do you call that? That fast that the ladies do for long life of the husband, Karwa Chauth. So when this Karwa Chauth comes, my wife also performs Karwa Chauth Vrat. So is she not a pure devotee? The point is, if she is doing Karwa Chauth with the objective that is my ultimate goal, then she is not in the purview of pure devotee. But if she is doing only mainly as a subordinate religion, it actually helps develop a fond, affectionate relationship between a husband and a wife. It is loving, it is affectionate, it looks nice. it should not be your devotional service should not be covered with karma kanda. It should not obscure your pure devotional service. Pure devotional service should also be in the prime, in the main lead, and jnana karma should be at the background, even if you are doing it. So if it is mixed with jnana and karma kanda or impersonal Brahman, then you are not in the purview of pure devotion. Now coming to the question of yours, those who died there, what is their destination? Now depending upon with what mentality, what mindset they are going there. I don't know the full details of that event, but assuming that if they are going mainly for fulfilling their desires, my son will pass, I will get good health, then that is karma kanda. That is not pure devotion.
पैरों की धूल के लिए बताते हैं.
So that might be that. Yeah, so पैरों की धूल actually some people want physical dhul of the charana. But what does dust of the lotus feet means? Putting the instruction of the Lord on your head. That is actually putting the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord, or dust of the spiritual master's lotus feet of the Lord on your head. That's what actually it means. That's what it really counts. Certainly, if you physically can get some dust like that, that is also very good. It is not to criticize that particular dust, but that need not become very emotionally surcharged to get that kind of a dust of that somebody. We need to have some practical sense also.
तो उनको अंधभक्त कह सकते हैं क्या अगर ऐसे लोग?
There could be some category of people who are in the category of andhbhakt karmakandis also. Yeah, right. Certainly. And you will find many people in the world. You will find in that category any religion, Hinduism, Vaishnavism, Islam, Christianity, many people. Majority you will find like that. Right. You see, you have read Nectar of Instruction. In the book Nectar of Instruction, we have Niyamagraha.
Yes.
Niyamagraha means what? Too much attached to the rules and regulations. Not understanding the spirit behind the rule, but only attached to the rule just for the purpose of following it. Right. Becoming too attached. So there could be a lot of niyamagrahas. In ISKCON also you will find that category. You never know. So does that answer your question?
Yes, largely, yes. I am definitely clearer compared to what I was a few minutes earlier. Thank you very much.
Your devotional service means Sarva Dharman Paritya Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. Sarva Dharman Paritya. Mam Ekam, only shelter of Krishna. If you are living your life with that focus, with that Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, you are pure devotee. Maybe you are not fully purified, but that purpose will purify you eventually.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so any more questions, any more queries or reflections? If not, then we conclude our session. I really thanks everyone from the bottom of my heart for coming and giving me this opportunity to speak Krishna Katha. A very glorious service. Thank you very much. So please join us next class for the quiz. And I will reissue the quiz. We'll once again post those questions, links on the WhatsApp group. So please do take some time to write some questions and do the needful. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.